Good afternoon to all the panelists. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Deepak Srivastav, are you able to listen me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, okay. So, sir, with your permission, shall we start this
Please,
training
please go ahead.
session, third day of? So, very good afternoon to all. Once again, I read young professional from NIDM, National Institute of Disaster Management, with you all on the third day of this program on the Prime Minister 10-point agenda on disaster risk reduction, which is being jointly organizing by National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and Government of India. So before moving on, let's have a quick recap of what we have done yesterday, or what we have done so far from day one. So on the day one of this training program, I got the opportunity to take first lecture on, and where I have given a brief introduction of Prime Minister 10-point agenda on DRR in a conference, and also in a comprehensive manner. I explained each point, and with some relevant examples, I also incorporated with each point, and some key actions, and how effective implementation of these points can be taken place. I explained in my day one first lecture. Then on the day one, the second lecture was taken by Mr. Mihir Bhatt, who is director of All India Disaster Mitigation Institute, and he also gave a brief introduction of Prime Minister 10-point agenda. He explained each point and correlated it with the activities which are being adopted in the current time, and what other activities are being performed by All India Disaster Mitigation Institute. It was also informed by Mr. Mihir Bhatt, who is director of AIDMI. Then on the second day of this training program, we had three speakers from very renowned organizations. First, we had yesterday Dr. Preeti Soni, who is a senior program consultant of Indian Universities and Institutions Network for Disaster Risk Reduction of National Institute of Disaster Management. And Dr. Soni gave presentation on Prime Minister 10-point agenda of particular point number 6, that says develop a network of university to work on disaster issues. And Dr. Soni explained how Indian University Institution Network on Disaster Risk Reduction cell of NIDM is building nation and community safe and resilient to disaster through education, knowledge creation, research, technology, and dissemination of information. She also emphasized on academia role that should engage with disaster governance with the help of various modes. Further, she also explained what are the other activities are being taken by her cell, that is Indian University and Institution Network for Disaster Risk Reduction. Then we had second speaker of day two was Mr. Anush Tiwari. He is senior consultant from National Disaster Management Authority, and Mr. Tiwari briefed about the Prime Minister 10-point agenda on disaster risk reduction. His main focus was on the integration of each point with the National Disaster Management National Disaster Management Plan 2019. He further explained how each point is incorporated in NDMP 19. He discussed over the existing thematic areas that had been included in National Disaster Management Plan 2019. At the end, he also emphasized on mainstreaming of disaster risk reduction. Then the third speaker we had yesterday was Uh, Miss Neha Sivach, who is founder and chairperson of an NGO called DIA, Diversified Intervention Youth Achievement. And she is also a research fellow in Delhi Assembly Research Center, Delhi Vidhan Sabha. And yes, she has elucidated the point number 3 of the Prime Minister 10-point agenda on DRR. That is, the point number 3 is encourage greater involvement and leadership of women in disaster risk management. She discussed over the effect of disaster on women, that included psychological aspects and social cultural consequences. She also presented a case study of Indian tsunami that happened in 2004 that shows how women were affected during this disaster. So this was the recap of last 2 days, and we have entered in the day third of this 3-day training program, online training program, which is, as I told you, jointly organizing by NIDM and Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. So today, again, we have two distinguished speakers to deliver their experience with us. And before on to the technical session, I would request Professor Inderjit Singh Sodhi, who is uh, uh, who is head of Department of Local Governance from Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, to have a welcome address to all the participants and speakers. Uh,
Thank you.
Sodhi sir,
Am I
over to you,
audible?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Please carry on, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm very much happy. Today is the third day, that is concluding day of this 3 days training program on Prime Minister 10-point agenda. So I am very much happy that this program is going very smooth, and no doubt, as Ajit Batham mentioned about in brief about first day and second day, like all experts, Preeti Soni, Anush Tiwari, Neha Sivach, as well as on the first day, Meh Bhatt, they all have pinpointed on certain issues and reflecting on Prime Minister's 10-point agenda. And today also is a good dignitary is their expert, Professor Deepak Srivastav. So I welcome Professor Deepak Srivastav on behalf of Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development and National Institute of Disaster Management. As you all know, this 3 days program and other training programs and webinar are being conducted in collaboration with both the institute. So on behalf of our director, Professor Shivnath Devji, and Executive Director of NIDM, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindalji, I welcome all the participants and delegates who are attending these 3 days. So definitely, I believe today also you will learn a lot. And I request the delegates and participants ki whatever queries or question or issues are there, you should not have no hesitation. You should ask directly without any inhibition, because if any doubt is there, so by asking them, I can understand it could be resolved. So today also there are two experts, as Ajit has mentioned. So Ajit himself will play a role as not only as a moderator, coordinator, as well as experts. Yesterday and day before yesterday, first day also, he has given his viewpoint. So I'm very much happy. A young person like Ajit is doing good work, and I also much happy with working with my colleague Professor Surya Prakashji, who is head of division in NIDM. He is very hardworking, workaholic, and sincere and dedicated. So I believe whenever we work with such type of personality, so there is no need to worry because everything will be managed by them. So I welcome of all of you. Good wishes. Thank you. Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words and welcoming distinguished speakers and participants. So let's move on to our first technical session, for which we have today with us Dr. Deepak Srivastav, who is, I would like to introduce him before he starts. So he is a professor at Institute of Management Studies that comes under the Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. It is the management department of the university, and he specializes in the area of e-business, internet marketing, information system, and being a graduate in MTech, he worked as a part of the team which conceptualized, developed, and implemented MBA e-commerce program at Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. He is having a total experience of more than 24 years at various management institute. It is vicinity of Indore. Also having wide experience in research with more than 50 publications of his credit. 7 students have been awarded their doctoral thesis under his supervision. He has been providing training, conducting workshops in not only areas of IT applications in the corporate world, but also in a well-known trainer in an area of disaster management. He is also nodal officer for Model Career Center established by Ministry of Labor and Employment at DAVV Indore. So today he will be enlightening us with his core experience of his relevant field. He will tell us more about the Prime Minister 10-point agenda point number 7, which says utilize the opportunities provided by social media and mobile technology. It is quite relevant to his subject. So now I request you, sir, to kindly take this virtual stage and continue with your presentation, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Ajit, my
Yes,
share window button is not active.
yes, sir. I'm activating it, sir. Sir, you may now share your content, sir.
Things are visible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's nicely visible. You please proceed, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Professor Indrajit Singh Todi Saab, Head of the Department Local Governance, Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. Co-chair Professor Surya Kumarji from NIDM. Pattern for this training workshop. Major General M.K. Bindal Saab, Executive Director, NIDM. Professor Sibnath Dev, Director, Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. My fellow speaker for today's program, Dr. Raju Thapa from NIDM, and my dear Ajit Badham, young professional, NIDM, and moderator for today's session. The 10-point agenda for disaster risk reduction, as established by Professor Prime Minister of our nation, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and propagating all these issues with the common man, NIDM has given or started very good initiative to train and to develop expertise in the area of this. Today, we'll be discussing the role of social media and in disaster management. And before we start discussing, as all of you are aware of, that India is a typical country where 65 crore population, more than 65 crore population is youth. And the moment we say youth, it means they are being exposed to internet technologies or application technology of internet or social media. Last year, the pandemic also has enhanced penetration of internet and social media technologies. And today we have more than 62 million users, 620 million users of internet in India. Now, when it comes to disaster management, there are the phenomena of big natural disaster has increased because the living lifestyle of today's generation. And this phenomena of creating new disaster will increase in coming years because of our lifestyle pattern. As we are aware of, whenever a disaster occurs, there is an increase in communication as people seek to connect family and friends in the disaster zone and seek information regarding food, shelter, transportation, help, medical help, etc. And here, social media play an important role, especially for those who are recovering from disasters, to rapidly connect with the needed resources. And at the same time, social media also help in various aspects of emergency awareness and preparedness to connect, discuss, share knowledge in a specific field. Let's try to understand what social media is. All of you might be aware of this fact that social media is a web-based and mobile technology-based interactive communication and dialogue, in which you have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and whatnot. Every day you will be finding a social media platform for their use, and their users are increasing day by day. And therefore, we need to capitalize on increasing user on the social media. Here, specifically, Web.2, which is again an internet-based application that builds on the ideology and technological foundation, which allows user to generate content, to interact with that content, and to give feedback on that particular content. And that is why the engagement of the user keeps on increasing. And as a result, the popularity and the penetration of social media is increasing. Some of the example for this is Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Any website that invite user to interact with site and with other visitors fall into the definition of social media. Typically, social media exhibit variety of characteristics, and these characteristics increases the popularity of social media in masses. Typically, it allows multiple content formats. Say, for example, you can deal with text, video, photographs, PowerPoint, audio, pictures, graphics, and as a result, you can converse multiple media on a single platform. It also allows you to interact with cross platforms, means more than one platform, through social sharing, emails, and feeds. Also involves different level of engagements of participation, who can create and comment on social media. Here, engagements, if you look backward, initially, social media or internet is typically used for sharing of information, and gradually you have exchange of there is enhancement of interaction, and now you are totally involved in this particular social media, which engages you in the process as if you are personally communicating or interacting with your fellow person. It also facilitates enhanced speed and breadth of information dissemination. When I say enhancement, speed and breadth, you can reach out quickly to a large number of population. You can have, you might have witnessed two classic example around 1983-84. We have a greatest disaster, big disaster, Bhopal gas treasury disaster in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. And it took almost 10 to 12 hours to reach out this information to the people, the common man, because it happens in the night, and with next morning with the newspaper, this information is made available to a common man. Whereas 9/11, it happens around 6:37, and within 15-20 minutes, this incident, you are having live transmission, live information of this particular incident across the globe within 20-30 minutes, right? And this is the beauty, or this is the advantage of social media, which allows you to transfer the information quickly and very fast to the audience. It also provides you one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many communication. When I say one-to-one, you as a participant, you can interact with your fellow colleague individually. You can also communicate with your fellow colleague in groups where you are broadcasting certain messages and your fellow colleagues are receiving messages. And you can have online discussions within groups where multiple participants are communicating and receiving at the same time, right? And as a result, the platform become more popular. It also enables communication to take place in real time and synchronously over time. The exchange of thought, exchange of messages are so synchronous that the time lag between the two messages is not being felt by the user. It can take place with irrespective of hardware. You can have social media on computer, you can have social media on tablets, you can have social media on smartphones. And it also extend engagements by creating real-time online events, extending online interaction and offline interaction, and augmenting live event sessions. Now, let us discuss the role of social media in natural disaster. The very first role, how this social media can be used for information dissemination in advance to get prepared. Basically, all the steps of disaster management cycle, you can involve social media, where for mitigation, for preparedness, for response, you can involve social media. And during the disaster, when all conventional communication stops, the social media is active because it requires very narrow bandwidth, narrow window to transmit content on the other side of the machine. And once that content is being transmitted on the other side, the content is available to virtually all the user. It can also help in mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. As I already said, in all the 4 steps of the disaster management, you can use. Similarly, researchers has found that the use of social media has increased exponentially after earthquake in Japan. Typically, in March 2011, Japan has witnessed a earthquake where social media is being used uh, to a large scale, and benefit of the social media is being felt since then. It also identifies the location of affected people. You might have experienced GPS location where your order is being, you are taking your order, or the delivery boy is taking your location to locate you and to deliver your food parcel or a shipment of various goods that you have purchased online. So GPS can be used to identify the location of the people. And apart from the use of major public social networking site, many of the companies actually use their own secured corporate social networking site after disaster to confirm the safety of the employees. Many of the organizations, they are allowing their employees on the mini blog kind of they facilitate this blog to have interaction with the employees. Similarly, information shared about claims, preparedness tips, and how to ensure for the future. In the beginning of the program, you might have seen small clips which talks about how to behave in the school whenever school are reopens, and in many of the state after pandemic, schools are still yet they are yet to open. So this type of small clips deliver very good content to the audience, and this clip is also shared on the social media platform. This type of clips is also being shared by government of Madhya Pradesh for various type of natural disaster. And if you remember, whenever we last time when we witnessed cyclone in Mumbai, Reliance also share some of the information on this particular social media. Similarly, emergency service agencies utilizing the power of social media and SMS to instantly broadcast and amplify emergency warning in public. If you recall, Odisha is a typical state where every year they witness a cyclone. And since there is a record of 100 years, in last 100 years, they have witnessed more than 100 cyclones. Right now, and because of this cyclone, today 4.3 crore population is being affected by the cyclone, and as an initiative to manage this cyclone disasters, a specific program, National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project, is being initiated in Odisha, where early warning dissemination system is being introduced, which inform all the localites of Odisha about the last minute connectivity of the cyclone. And this is being done using social media. Similarly, it also provides valuable information to those in the disaster area pre and post disaster via internet, if available, or SMS updates also. If you see, these days, Indian Meteorological Department is able to predict, able to forecast weather 3 days in advance. And this information is made available to all the individual in that particular area with the help of social media or SMS. Same type of information is also made available to the farmers of Bangalore about the 3-day weather forecast so that they can plan their agriculture activity. Again, social media is being used. It also drives awareness to those outside the affected area, generating volunteers and donors. Because whenever a particular area is being affected by the particular disaster, you need n number of volunteers or support from the outside area. And using social media, you can also generate a good list of volunteers to work in that particular area. It connects and displays family and friends based on information made available on social media. The missing person can be reached out, or the missing displaced family members can be reached out, and you have a chance of reunion of the family. It also provides information about unclaimed property and in worst case scenario, what is. If you remember in Uttarakhand, whenever that landslide incident, heavy rainfall incident, disaster took place, and after when things are being normalized about around 15-20 days, and when local people are being allowed to visit forest, after 20 days they found some bodies in the uphill area of the Uttarakhand. And that is why this information, if made available to individual, you can utilize this information for social for the unclaimed properties as well as bodies. As you know, whenever disaster happen, mainstream media monitor and actively crowdsource localized information from community agency and the public, which they relay with geospatial information to emergency personnel on the scene. These days, you also have experienced this, that whenever some disaster or emergency situation arise in the particular locality, people try to share this information on social media, and this information can be shared, can be utilized for the managing that particular disaster. Other information about ads, centers, and other resources available to those affected. It also offers information about the various centers which can provide help during this disaster situation. A study by American Red Cross in 2001 shows that more people turns to the site like Facebook and Twitter to learn about the emergencies, to get information and check on them, friends and family. And people keep on moving to this kind of social networking site. And now, how this social media function for disaster management? Typically, if you see, crisis management phases or crisis management cycle contains 3 steps: crisis preparedness, crisis response, and crisis recovery. In crisis preparedness, the focus is on preventive activities that seeks to reduce non-risk that could lead to crisis. And this information using social media can be shared with the person. In crisis response, the focus will be on the speed and effectiveness of the initial response. How quickly the persons can reach out to the affected area. And there will be a need for quick situational awareness to help authority respond effectively after the crisis. And in crisis recovery, it emphasizes requirement for longer term planning and support to restore situation back to normalcy. Now, these 3 stages, when supplemented with 4 activities where social media can be used: information dissemination, disaster planning and training, collaborative problem solving and decision making, and 4th, information gathering, they can increase effectiveness of the crisis management and can give very good results. Now, very first activity, information dissemination. It is effective means to provide reliable information quickly to the public to enable them to better prepare for and respond to the crisis. Because whenever a disaster or crisis situation happens, the right information is very crucial. And here, social media can be used for dissemination of right information on authentic information to the public. The effectiveness of this is dependent on the reach and penetration of social media across the technological know-how, education, age, languages, and culture. Because India is a typical country where you have variety of geography and variety of demographic. And here, this technological know-how and education plays a critical role. Say, for example, United Nations Office of Coordination on Humanitarian Affairs is able to provide early warning for rapid response to complex humanitarian emergencies based on information gathered because of OSHA multimedia platform such as Relief Wave and the IRIN news service, which are aimed to provide more detailed analysis to the wider audience. Similarly, for the second stage, disaster planning and training, gamification leverage social media. Gamification means rehearsal, mock drills for disaster planning and training to promote personal training, scenario planning, collaboration between the various crisis management agencies for the public sector, private sector, and civil society organization. Now, this gamification gives variety of information, variety of scenario to the person. It enhances current crisis management practices through sustained stakeholder training and collaboration. And if you remember, for last 10 years, various kind of mock drill is being performed in various locations, educational institutes, say how to evacuate the premises in given particular time quickly. These mock drills are a very good regular feature for the disaster planning and training. A typical example for this is Kenyan Red Cross and World Bank bring together disaster relief experts and software engineers to work on identifying key challenges to develop possible solutions through interactive discussions to overcome the range of possible scenarios related to natural disaster and response. Basically, the evacuation training allows individuals how to behave in a particular situation. The third point is collaboration, problem solving, and decision making. Crowdsourcing using social media facilitate collaborative problem solving and decision making by integrating various streams of information from mobile and web technologies to fill the perceived sense making and information gap, as well as to aggregate, analyze, and plot data about urgent humanitarian need. It also estimates the requirement of the affected area. This is a first-hand information, and by sharing of videos and various crises, the information can be utilized for effective management of that particular crisis. And as the knowledge base grows, authority become better positioned to manage the response to a range of possible crisis scenario. In US, United States Institute of Peace collect information to improve situational awareness so as to make more informed decision for the allocation of resources based on emerging trend. And then they are using a social networking site to collect information for this. For information gathering, on the scene footage, citizen journalism, disaster assessment are the central of information gathering and coordinating crisis response. The on-the-field information or on-the-site information plays a critical role. Say, for example, Al Jazeera uses community platform that leverage on email, mobile text messages, or smartphone application to allow the public to voice their concern, perception, and thoughts regarding ongoing development. Now, social media, how social media is used during disaster. You can use social media for family and friend communication to connect with family members between affected and unaffected areas within the affected communities, for the situation updates, for planning, response. Also, this is the most popular use. Primary tool are Twitter, Facebook, and other blogs. For situation update also, you can use social media Neighbor and communities share critical information between each other, such as road closure, power outage, fire, accidents, and other related damages. Social media are also used for situational and substantial awareness. A number of cases, citizens rely less and less on authority communication, especially through traditional channel. And here, role of social media become crucial because an authentic source will protect society from the panic. Service access as assistance. Citizens would also use social media channels to provide each other with the ways and means to contact different service providers they meet during the crisis time. Let us discuss some more examples where social media is used. The New York City Office of Emergency Management, for example, uses Sahana, a software, to manage its all hazards sheltering plan involving over 100 shelters capable of housing over 80,000 persons during the crisis. The emphasis of this particular software is on resource management and communication with the affected people. Similarly, the Dutch government operates on a particular website, crisis.nederland.nl, as a focal point for public dissemination of information during emergency. And same kind of website is also there in America with the name of FEMA, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. Another software, Ushahidi, that enables people to submit eyewitness report during the disaster that can then be displayed on a map, has been successfully deployed during Haiti earthquake 2010 to crowdsource data from people on the ground to aid relief efforts. Here, the information from the public, the system is developed for collecting information, first-hand information from the public, and filtration of information and the response of the government on that piece of information, official response of the government is made available to the public. Similarly, SensePlace 2 is again a web-based application in America. Is map-based web application that integrates multiple text sources, news, RSS feed, blog posts that can then be translated onto a map to allow emergency responders to easily filter through a place or time so that to analyze changing issues and perspectives. In India, social media is typically used in Kashmir flood, 2014 Kashmir flood. And during this particular Kashmir flood, Twitter plays a crucial role in providing rescue operations and assistance in the flood area. How it is being done? In 2014, Kashmir flood, an automated SOS service was introduced after the army and Twitter collaborated for rescue operation. This is considered to be the largest after disaster campaign in recent past. During the natural calamities and collapse of infrastructure hit network and telecommunication facilities, major telecom infrastructure had collapsed with exception of one or two service providers during the Kashmir flood. The local officials had no way to contact government or the army, though the army was equipped with satellite phone. They were little help as a location of the people waiting for rescue was not known. Realizing the problem, the tutor uses ground information which was constantly being updated for the cause of rescue. For this, tutor scanned various tweets while some expressed anguish, grief, others called for help, and final, the most important one, were those coming out of the flood hit region, and these had to be shift, classified, channelized to make the best use out of the such reaction. Tutel channelized SOS information which was received using the tutel feed by running it through a code which separated the SOS tweet from rest under hashtag Kashmir flood, and the information was made available to Indian Army, who then used it for rescue operation. In this particular operation, uh, more than 12,000 people, based on information from social media, are being rescued. And apart from SOS service, Twitter also use this information to channelize relief material from across the countries. And there are more than 40 collection centers throughout the country and numerous distribution channels in the flood hit valley for dispatch of relief material. Now, to create the particular kind of content using social media, there are certain points one should look for as a guideline. Say, for example, whatever the preparedness content, information content that you are preparing, it must be in local dialect. And once it is in the local dialect, the message can be reached out to the masses. Typically, in Indian context, we have diversified geography and demographies, and therefore, local dialect is one of the essential component. At the same time, whatever message that you are preparing should be short and concise as much as possible. Because as a habit, you also have experienced that whenever you receive a long message, you have a tendency of skipping that particular message. So whatever content, whatever message, that whatever video information, audio information that you are creating, it should be short and concise. At the same time, you also look for the language. You must use simplified languages, simple languages, so that the message can be easily understood by the recipients. Whatever graphics and videos that you are going to use are to be in best format, provided their size is small, because still in India we have a problem of bandwidth, and if size of the video and graphics are large, then the user may face problem of downloading in that particular message. In case of video, you must put some caption to that so that people can have a primary information about the video. Use gamification. Gamification is simulation of activities or rehearsal of various activities. You try to generate various scenarios using the technology, and this will enrich user experience for variety of scenarios. It should be easy to disseminate. If your message is being liked by someone, they will like to share this particular message with the others also. Same content should be formatted for multiple platforms. as social media, you have variety of tools available, and they also offer you inter-platform connectivity. To the format of the message or the content that you develop should be such that you should be able to share that piece of information with the uh, different platforms. In the last, just to summarize things to you, before a disaster, social media can help people better prepare for a disaster and understand which organization will help their communities. During the disaster, social media help users to communicate directly to their families, reporters, volunteer organization, and other residents, and immediately share information. It also controlled rumors because it is easier for organization to validate the fact. After disaster, social media helps bring the community better to discuss the event and share information, coordinate recovery efforts, and get information about ads. Some limitation for the technology. Again, use of social media still doesn't cover everyone. Although, if you compare use of social media from the previous year, there is 21% increase. But still, we have huge population to cover. The problem which we are facing, nuisance of fake message and rumors. There are tendency of people to sensitize news. It is also not always possible to identify the social media users. Sometimes it becomes quite difficult to separate out genuine help and request from opportunistic scams. Privacy issues, battery drain, because in case of disaster, problem with electricity supply may cause battery drain for electronic devices. Threat of technological failures, hackers, scalers, viruses, and last, usability issues, as all of them are designed for social interaction and not for emergency use. Thank you.
Have you completed? Okay.
Yeah, please go.
So thank you, sir, for joining with us, and you have uh, given a brief introduction of social media and its characteristics, and you also explained social media use with its relevant examples and the content preparation for guidelines. And thank you so much, sir, for being with us. It was really a very informative session you have taken, and we look forward to have more such sessions from you in future. So, sir, I request you to stay there only. Now we have, thank you so much, sir, for joining.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, everybody.
Now, let's move to the second technical session, for which we have Dr. Raju Thapa, who is he is currently working as a junior consultant at the Early Warning and Communication Center in the National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. Before his engagement in NIDM, he has worked on major projects sponsored by Department of Science and Technology, Science and Engineering Research Board. He was also associated with the Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences. Department of Atomic Energy sponsored major project. He is also a recipient of several awards, fellowships at the national and international level. Dr. Raju Thapa has published more than 45 publications in some of the leading journals under the publishers of Elsewhere, Taylor, Francis, and Springer, national and international conference, etc. His key research interest includes remote sensing and GIS and its application to water resources, containment, contaminant hydrology, groundwater potential mapping, landslide assessment, and many more. So today, Dr. Ayuth Thapa will discuss on the infodemic management. So as we all are aware that not only India but the whole world is currently facing the wake of uh, COVID-19 pandemic. So in this situation, in this era, we have lots of information from various modes of communication, and it's very hard to understand or find out which is on what to believe, on what to not. So this particular session, in this particular session, Dr. Raju Thapa will tell us something about this infodemic, how to get true information, or how to check this whether the information you are getting is correct or not. So now may I request Dr. Raju Thapa to continue with your presentation. Sir, please carry on.
Good afternoon, sir, and namaskar to all the participants and our respected panelists. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Sir, do I have the presenter right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Like just now Ajit sir said, there are now lots of information. Actually, recently also it was mentioned that actually it is not just information. Now we have the tsunami of information. So most commonly what we say, and in this tsunami of information, in these waves of information, you know. People are opportunists. Some of the people are opportunists who make who wants to rather than just like spreading the true news, they also try to slip in the fake news. Sometimes news may be unintentional, that false news. Sometimes it is very much intended and very much intentional. So we will try to understand all this. We will talk in detail. So like my colleague just introduced me, I'm currently engaged in NIDM. So later we'll just discuss a little bit of just the social media, disaster and resilience, and also undertaking the, the infodemics and mismanagement. So but before we move in directly to the presentation, let us just get a glimpse of what is the current COVID situation. So with over 4.5 billion new cases reported this week from 16 to 22 August, the number of new cases reported globally seems to be in a rather more stable after an increasing for nearly last 2 months. Since mid-June, it was increasing. So the number of deaths reported globally this week also, it remained quite similar to the last week with over around 68,000 new deaths reported globally. And the highest number of new cases, if you see, were reported from United States of America, followed by the Iran and followed by India, where we have reported around 10% decrease in the number of new cases as compared to the earlier previous week. And India is followed by again United Kingdom, which has also shown 11% increase, and followed by Brazil, where it was almost same, around 1% decrease. So this is just the give you an idea of what is the current situation of COVID-19. But just remember that our fight against COVID-19 is not over. So please, wherever possible, follow the social distancing, use mask wherever possible, do the regular hand sanitizations, uh, follow all the respiratory etiquettes wherever possible, do your health checkup regularly, monitor yourself, and if you find any difficulties, do report to the doctors or do go for a checkup as soon as possible. And of course, we are now looking forward to vaccinate our whole India. So whenever you get the opportunity, if you are within the eligible age range, get yourself vaccinated, because that is also a very important way to fight against COVID-19. So coming back to the topic that has been presented to me about misinformation. So first thing that comes to our mind is, what is infodemic? What is infodemic? So infodemic is nothing. It is an overburdens of information, and in that information, everything is not false. Some are accurate, okay, and some information are not. So that occurred during an epidemic particularly, and it can lead to confusion and ultimately, mistrust in government and public health response also sometimes. And this infodemic management, when we talk about like, it is the applying and event-based interventions that bring the understandable, localized, evidence-based information to citizen and drive positive health seeking behavior also. So the right message at the right time, from the right messenger through the right medium, can save life. So I'll just repeat once again: the right message at the right time from the right messenger through the right medium can save life. And this misinformation or mixed messages can cost life rather. So even this point was also highlighted several times, and it was it was also said that we are not just fighting COVID pandemic, we are also fighting infodemic. And one of the main reason that could lead to that could have and lead to this was also very much can be understandable from our distinguished previous speaker, Sir Deepak sir, where he very nicely talked about the role and the use and the potential of social media that it can play in disaster management. And I think pandemic is no other than one type of disaster. So based on sir explanation, so you can understand the scope that the social media has in disseminating information particularly. So if you compare ourselves to the earlier form of medias, like earlier where the conventional source of media, the print media, newspapers, the televisions, or some news channels, radio, they were the only source of information, and the source of information were channelized through some channels. So, right now there are a large number of information source. Like sir gave some examples. Sir was mentioning Twitter. Sir was mentioning Facebook, everything. Or you talk about any app now, YouTube, vloggers, all are like there is lots and lots of information. Every app, every so many social media platforms. So that also it makes it very difficult to to manage things. And also to manage the infodemic, we need an evidence-based framework like that of the epidemiologist. And this infodemic management, it needs to be mainstream into the public health preparedness also, and also in response plan. Okay, particularly because flattening the infodemic curve will help us to flatten the infodemic curve also. And talking about this, when the right information at the right time, like I said, in the right format, is very very important. And while it is not possible to completely illuminate, it is possible to manage the infodemic. Okay, so infodemic management, it aims to ensure that people have access to the factual information in a timely manner, that is easily understood, so they may rapidly adapt to this behavior to protect health and health of others during an epidemic. And infodemic management, it must consider to be it must be backed up by science. It should rely on risk-based and evidence-based initiatives that empower the community to take action. And also it make use of best practices in including the sharing experience and the continuous learning. So we all are being exposed to a huge amount of COVID-19 information on a daily basis, and not all of it are reliable. So here are some tips that we will try to discuss for telling the difference and stopping the spread of misinformation. So due to COVID-19, most of us have a new word in our vocabulary, that is epidemiology also. It is the branch of, the medical science that deals with the way disease are transmitted and can be controlled by population. Now it's time to learn another new word, that is infodemiology. As human, we are very curious and very innovative species. We want to understand the world around us and want to stay up to date with the challenges we face and how to overcome them. And one of the way we do this is by seeking out and sharing information. We look for lots and lots of information about any topic. So even scientists around the world are working hard to keep up with the thousands of studies that has come up since COVID-19 has appeared. But it is not only scientific studies. There are official communications also from the government and health agencies around the world. In our country also, various health organizations who are working continuously day and night, they also release out some information. Then there are news articles also. There are opinions pieces also who shared their messages and information. There are messages from vloggers, there are messages from bloggers, podcasters, social media influencer. You may also see information shared by friends and families on social media or messaging app. So all these are a source of messages that we are getting from various app or various platform. And all of these all together we can call infodemic, a flood of information on the COVID-19 pandemic particularly. So infodemiology is the study of this information and how we manage it. So information is what we call, right, things that are accurate to the best of our current knowledge. So that doesn't mean that information that we is true today will be true 1 year later. No, that would not be the case. Information which is accurate to the best of our current knowledge, so based on our capability, that information is true. So, for instance, the COVID-19, it stands for, the coronavirus disease 2019, and it is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. One of the difficulties with any new pathogen like this, like coronavirus, is that information changes over time, and we learn more about the science. And this means misinformation, particularly, this was about the information. Now, let us talk about the misinformation. What is misinformation? So, misinformation is nothing on the other, is the false information. Importantly, it is a false information that was not created with an intention of hurting others. Most of the time, misinformation is often started by someone who genuinely wants to understand a topic and cares about keeping other people also safe and well. It is then shared by others who feel the same. Everyone believes that they are sharing good information, but unfortunately, they are not. So, and depending on what is being shared, this misinformation can turn out to be sometimes very, very harmful also, and can lead to someone death also. But at the other end of the spectrum, we have the disinformation. So unlike this misinformation, the disinformation is the false information created, particularly with the intention of profiting from it or causing harm to someone. And that harm could be to a person, a group of people, any organization, or even a community, or even a country also sometimes. So this disinformation generally, it serves some agenda, and it can be very dangerous, very, very dangerous sometimes. And during this pandemic, like we are seeing it used to try to erode out trust in each other and in our government and in public institutions also. So why can this infodemic make the pandemic worse? Why? So the question is, the answer is like, this infodemic, it can make very hard for the people, for the decision makers and the health workers to find the trustworthy sources and reliable guidelines when they need it. And the sources may be like the app or the scientific organization websites, blogs, influencers. So when there are so many information available, so which information is right, which information is wrong, so it sometimes it might create confusion. And also people also, they may feel anxiety, depression, overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet important demands due to this infodemic. And it can also affect the decision making processes, like when immediate answers are expected and not like enough time is allotted to deep analyze the evidence, and no quality control also on what is published. And sometimes, you know, there are so many media outlets from where information are coming up. Uh, because of the availability of this particularly internet, there are so many outlets, so it is not possible also to filter or to check all the news, all the information that are coming up. So there is no quality control also so on what is being published, and sometimes which used to take action and makes decisions also get confused. And sometimes even the anybody can, very important point is also that anybody can write or publish anything on the web, whether that is postcast or article, etc., or in a Facebook post. If you have if you are a social influencer having lots of follower, anything can be shared. So in particularly on social media channel, these individuals and institutional accounts, so anybody can publish anything. I think that is also a major factor from where misinformations are sometimes spreading. Uh, just for your information, just for the knowledge, I would like to share this wedding cake model that we say, which illustrate the now, you know, the four levels as layers. The size of this layer is proportional to the amount of information generated by these four groups of actors. Okay, and the model also shows some information flow and knowledge transmission activity that is taking place between different levels. And you know, the science is the you know, the smallest layer of the wedding cake in terms of the amount of information, and is depicted at the top of the, you know, information wedding cake, which represent rigorous and selective information production cycle. And also clearly misinformation can be found here as well, of course, perhaps measured by the number of you know, the retractions also, which as of you know, last year stand as less than 2 dozen restricted article only. But this number is certainly to increase with you know, over thousands and thousands of COVID-19 article getting published, you know, in PubMed. If you are publishing something, that PubMed is a source site where you can get all the information. This represent, you know, less than just 0.1% of the published research, even though there may be a large rate of within the segment of unreviewed preprints also sometimes, and some of which may never see the light of journal publication, which may be another metrics for the prevalence of scientific information also. And uh, the main problem is not like so much the prevalence of misinformation in the scientific layer, but the challenge of transmitting this information into actionable recommendations, right? And conveying the conclusion from different audience and stakeholders in other layers, illustrated by the, you know, the knowledge transmission arrow you can see in the figure 1. And the four pillars that we say of infodemic management are, you know, the information monitoring that you can see in the presentation, the infodemic monitoring, uh, top left, building the e-health literacy, okay, and the scientific literacy. And the third is the encouraging the knowledge refinement and quality improvement processes uh, for information provider, such as fact checking and peer review, if you can see. And the last one is the knowledge transmission, meaning to transmit knowledge from one layer to another while minimizing the distorting factor. Okay, like this one, e-health something. So all these four things are known as the four pillar of infodemic management. We will be discussing this in more detail later on in my presentations. But one thing is important, that you know, it helps to think that misinformation and disinformation like is spreading in the same way as virus. Okay, one person might share fake news with their friends and families, and then a handful of them share it with more of their friends and families, and before you knew it, potentially harmful or dangerous information, it takes over everyone news feed. But just as we can protect against COVID-19 with hand washing, physical distancing, masking, hand sanitizing, we can also slow down the spread of misinformation and disinformation by practicing some information hygiene. I call it information hygiene because before sharing something, ask yourself this basic question, like, how does this make you feel? The information that you are sharing, how does it make you feel? And you have to think, why I am sharing this information, and how do I know if it is true? Have you checked it? Have you cross-checked with any other source of information? Where did it came from? Where have you received this information from? Was it credible source? You have to think all these things before sharing any information. And also, whose agenda might I be supporting if I'm sharing this? Sometimes, like I said, the information that you come across have some hidden agenda also. So you have, before sharing that with your close one, with your loved one, you have to think like, whose agenda might I be supporting? So this, if you keep in mind this 5 Ws and 1 H uh, concept before sharing any information, if that piece of information qualify this screening test, I will say, then definitely you should share. But if you think if it is unfit, or it is not suitable, or it is not qualifying any of this any of this standard set, so I think you should double check the information and you should think twice before sharing it. Because sometimes when you share the message, it gets further shared down the channel. So you must be very, very careful about that. And definitely one more thing is, if you know something is false, or if it makes you angry, don't just share it. Rather than just sharing it, like it, debunk it or make fun of it. Like that just spreads the misinformation and disinformation further. So you need to know how to report it to report the fake news also. We will also try to discuss that just in one slide. Okay, I'll try to give you some ideas about that also. So that's a good place to go for reliable informations are always the websites of your national ministries of health, or the WHO's World Health Organization. Remember, true information will change as we learn more about the virus. Now, here are some steps that you can take to navigate this wave of information and decide who and what to trust. The first one is definitely the assessing the source, like we said. Who shared the information with you, and where did they get it from? Even if it is from your friends or families, you still need to vet their sources to check for fake source. Like if that news is from fake social media account, look at how long this profile has been activated. If the account from which you are receiving the message has been activated just recently, you need to think about such source of information. The number of followers and the most recent post that source has done. So all these things you have to understand, you have to check, and you have to understand. For website, suppose check the about us and contact us page so that look for background information and legitimate contact details, whether the source, whether the website, whether the source that you are trusting are legitimate or not, whether they are real or not. When it comes to images and videos, make it a habit to verify their authenticity. For image, you can use the reverse image search tool provided by the Google, and there are other apps also. For video also, there are several YouTube dat viewers, such site of source where you can upload your image. Suppose you receive any image, you can cross check it whether that is fake image or not, or that is doctored image or not. So that type of thing can be definitely, you should try to do that. And other clues, then a source may be unreliable or inaccurate, includes the sometimes you can identify through the writing skills also, unprofessional visual design, or the poor spelling and grammatical mistakes, or the excessive use of all cap or exclamation points. All these things indicate something. You should get that indication at very timely manner before you share something very dangerous information. And the second point is going beyond headline. Sometimes headline may be intentionally sensational, or like provocative to get higher number of clicks, as you can see the nowadays in news media also. So read more than just the headlines of any article. Go further and look at the entire story, what the message is there. So look at the print sources such as newspapers also, magazines also. Go for digital source also, such as the podcast of good doctors, or online news sites, or also diversify your source, allow you to get better picture of what is true or what is not true, and what is trustworthy or which is not trustworthy. So don't restrict yourself or don't bind yourself to some one particular source of information. Rather, diversify yourself to multiple source of information, and later on decide based on the information that you get what might be the correct source, or what might be the good correct information. And the third point is the identifying the author. Like this point is already we have discussed a little bit in the up 2 points. Like search for the author name online to see if they are real or credible persons or not. You have to check their you see their last few activities, what type of messages they have been sharing in the social media, or their news feed, what they are sharing, what is their followers, or how long they have, like what was the like last time they were active, when their account was created. So if such type of information you can get, that will be very helpful to identify the author. And also check the dates. When you come across information, ask yourself this question: is this a recent story? Because most of the time, around 70 to 80% of the time, it is seen that the information that you receive is already an incident that has taken place earlier, few years back, that is not even related to the current topic. So what does this means is that you have to check the whether, like the story that you are being shown or that you are coming across is the recent story or not. Is it up to date? Is it relevant to like a current event? Has the headline images or statistics being used out of context? So all these things you need to understand before trusting any information. And even examine the the supporting evidence also. Credible stories, like, or the backup their claim with facts, for example, quotes for experts, or linkage to statistics or studies, or they will also always give you sources from where they have taken this information that they are sharing. So verify that expert and reliable, and then link also that they are sharing, whether actually they have taken from that link or not. That is also very much needed, so that you can understand truly whether that source is credible or not. And check for your biasness also. Sometimes what happens is we all have our biasness, okay, and this fact, particularly this factor into how we view what is happening around us. So it is also very much necessary that we need to evaluate our own biasness, and why are we like have been drawn to a particular headline or a story. What is our interpretation of it? Why did you react to it that way? Does it change, like challenges your the assumptions, or tell you what you want to hear? So what do you have learned about yourself from such interpretations or reactions? So basically, which means that before trusting any news, you must ensure that you are not getting biased with the source of information. Rather, try to judge that information unbiased. And one more point, that is turning to fact checker. uh, Very important, very important. When in doubt, consult trusted fact-checking organizations, such as, there is one international fact-checking network, or you can also, nowadays the alt news are also coming up with checking fake news. Or you can also go for the Google, like I said, Google reverse image and other things. If you there are so many fact-checking sources right now available, so you can try at least the basics one, to trust the information that you are getting before you actually share this information, or you actually implement that information in yourself. And just let us try to understand like how some of the misinformation has been spread, so that it will give you an idea. Now some of the points may seem like very abrupt, but at one time this misinformation, it was spread so much that the WHOs, our national or authorities, they had to release an information that this information is false. So at one time, such type of information was very much spread through WhatsApp, through Facebook. So some of them were like COVID-19 is caused by is not caused by an virus, it is caused by an bacteria. But the virus that comes from COVID-19 is a family of virus, and antibiotic do not works against it. So there was a high demand of antibiotic also during that time. Some people who became ill with COVID-19 can also, can develop a bacterial infection also as an complications. In this case, only this antibiotic may be recommended by a healthcare provider. There is currently no licensed medications to cure COVID-19 with antibiotic, like that was released by WHO. And if you have any symptoms, you must call your doctor, like your healthcare, particularly healthcare provider or the doctors for the COVID-19 assistance. And similarly, there was also information that the hydrochloroquine about the clinical that actually the fact is that clinical trial confirmed that hydrochloroquine does not prevent illness or death from COVID-19. But there were also rumors about that, and that hydrochloroquine is a common, like that is commonly used for treatment for malaria and other disease, has been studied as a preventive treatment for COVID-19. But evidence from this study shows that it has little to no impact on illness or hospitalization or death. And also there were again rumors that there's vitamin, minerals, if you take all these, you will not get COVID. But that also is a very much false news, that micronutrient definitely, such as vitamin D, C, and zinc, all are very crucial for our well-being when we talk about our immunity system, and it plays a very, very important role and a vital role in promoting our health and the mental well-being. But there is currently no guidelines or on the use of micronutrient supplement as a treatment for COVID-19. So WHO also, they are working, coordinating with various health organizations to develop and evaluate medicines to treat COVID-19. But as of now, there are no micronutrient supplements that treats COVID-19. But definitely it increases our immune system. And also there were rumors that while doing the jogging and all, while going for exercises, you should wear double mask. You should do all, like wear a double mask to for your safety. But people should not wear like double mask when exercising, as a mask may reduce the ability to breathe very comfortably, when particularly when you are doing moderate to very hard exercises. One more reason is that sweat can make the mask become very wet, like more quickly, which makes it difficult for to breathe and promote, and also it promotes the growth of microorganisms. The important preventive measures during exercises is to maintain physical distance of at least 1 meter from others, and try to keep as much as possible, try to keep yourself away from crowded place. And also there was fake news regarding the zoos, like the zoo is spreading COVID-19, but the likelihood of COVID-19 being spread on zoos and infection, infecting people, is very, very low. Particularly, but one thing you have to notice here is that as a precautionary measure, particularly in homes where you have infant babies and small children crawling or playing on the floor, consider leaving your shoes at the entrance of your house or out rather than wearing that inside your house. This will also help you prevent the contact with dirt or any waste that could be carried on your sole of the shoe. And there were also rumors that the prolonged use of medical mask when properly worn does not affects it increases your CO2 concentration in the body. But that is also not true, because the prolonged use of medical mask can be uncomfortable, however, but it does not lead to CO2 intoxication nor the oxygen deficiency. And there were so many others also, like hand sanitizer can be used how often, because there were rumors that an alcohol based sanitizer does not it creates antibiotic resistance, and the very important antibiotic that is needed in your hand, they are killed by the sanitizer. But such type of, they are also rumors that were spread, and WHO later on gave an clarification that an alcohol based sanitizer does not create any antibiotic resistance also. And of course, there was also said that alcohol-based sanitizer is not safe for everybody. Rather, alcohol-based sanitizer are safe for everyone, and the sanitizers has not shown to create any relevant health issue as of now. And little alcohol is absorbed into the skin, and most products contain, they cause little skin dryness. But allergics and all, some people they might be allergic, but that they can refer to doctors. But as of now, some serious health problem it hasn't been reported. And also there it was also said that alcohol based sanitizer cannot be used as per some religions where alcohol is prohibited. So later on that also WHO gave a clarification that any manufactured substances developed to illuminate particularly illness or contributing to the betterment of the health is also permitted by Quran also, so including alcohol based. So such type of information has been tackled by WHO and by other fact checking medias also. So also the world respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, we face that the challenges of an overburdens of information related to the virus, and some of this information may be false and potentially harmful that we have discussed, and inaccurate like information is spread very widely at a very high speed, so making it more difficult for the people to identify verified facts and advices from trusted sources, such as these local health authorities or the WHO. However, I will say everyone can help to stop the spread of this misinformation. If you see content online that you believe to be false or misleading, you can report it to the host social media platform. For example, let us take the example of Facebook. Whenever you see some fake news or some message that you are certain that news is false, so what you can do is you can just click the three dots next to the post that you have received, and that you have seen and that you want to mark as false. Click this find support or report post, and you can there you can mark it as for like fake information, then click next, done. So this small thing, your small action will play a very important role in the long run for even the Facebook administrators. They will come to know that this type of information, if everybody starts to mark such like information fake through their own Facebook accounts, then this thing can be stopped with very much extent. And talking about here, the WHO, they are also taking various initiatives to understand the fake spread of fake news. And WHO also, they also launched an artificial intelligence this podium also website, where they are checking what type of information are being shared at a regular interval. And if you see over like 3 billion people, as like sirs also said, in the world are quarantined, were quarantined particularly, or were in the social isolation and like due to whether you say the border like closed, and the restriction on transportations were also in place among other measures. So as a result, widely used information technology, whether cell phone, particularly in cell phone, they became the main way that people, the government, and the health institution, like institutional workers, that was the only main way of interacting, and also at the same time sharing information, exchanging and generating knowledge and communicating. So talking about the information technology, the main tools of social interaction during the, particularly that during the pandemic, where if you see of course the World Wide Web, the chat box, the dashboards of various websites, the mobile application app was also used extensively for seeking information. We talk about social media, like our earlier speaker also highlight the importance of social media. So even the call centers, the virtual campuses, text messaging, even I think you have also noticed that particularly during lockdown, you were receiving certain information from the government also. So even the internet-based text, video, and voice services, well, web links, forms, all these were used extensively for seeking information. And if you talk about some of the opportunities provided by information technology, definitely there are lots and lots that has been done. And still there is a scope for so many things where we can improve, whether that is answering to questions or monitoring patient online, providing, you know, like therapeutic assistance, or interacting with health professionals and services, even contributing to knowledge or supporting for self-diagnostics. There are so many areas or so many, you know, I will say pockets where there are scopes, further scopes, where information technology can be used extensively. So, what are the, if you talk about creating holistic, holistic approach towards, you know, this. You know, the approach towards fighting this pandemic, you know, creating awareness and dispelling the myths particularly and stigma is also very very important. And also use of social media platforms by uh, the recovered individuals to share their positive experience, or the support of the civil society organizations, and also seeking, you know, the support of civil society organizations. All these things are very much essential. And talking about the ideological, technical, like technological skills in the current context, I will say, like, we need to have a very you know, critical thinking about our problems, and try to and also to come out with ways to in solving that. And we need to have that ability to search for the answers, or to search for the query, or rather than just believing whatever that comes to us, try to search whether that information is correct or not. And our active participation is also very much needed, and it's the need of the hour also. And also reading, writing, and compensation in the current like digital context is also a skill that we must upgrade ourselves and keep ourselves up to date. uh, just to talk about what are some examples to consider. Suppose uh, the if you want some information about you know, COVID-19, what are the symptoms, what are the measures that you must take. So I think government websites, apps like Arogya Setu, such type of source could be the most favorable source, or where you can get the most reliable information. Or if you want to access the real time information about what is happening in my country or across the uh, world, so you can go for WHO websites, you can go for our Ministry of Health websites, or the various other dashboards that you think are widely accepted, and that is widely like recognizable. So government websites, so they are a source of information for various, so large number of questions. Suppose even if you want to get training like this one, virtual campus, like web talk, interacting platforms, all this can provide a very much important source for that. So in the end, I will say that providing information and instruction with real-time alert and warning is the need of the hour. That was also highlighted by our early speaker. And providing situation awareness and monitoring early warning of disaster, particularly combating the fake news, is also needed. And also locating people during disaster, or and also, you know, combating our fake news, and sharing the most reliable informations from where to get that, getting people trained, the community trained about how to deal with the fake news, and teaching them that everything that they come through through Facebook is not true, or through any source of media is not true. They should try to, you know, cross check that information before trusting. That is also a need of the hour. So in the end, I will also like to share with you one information that what I talk about the Google search image, how you can take, suppose you receive any picture in Google, and if you want to check its reliability, you can do that using Google search image. So you can go to our NIDM website, and you can sorry, NIDM YouTube channel, and you can search for this program, where there was a webinar on public information media management disaster situation, where there was a practical demonstration how this Google search image is used, particularly during to combat this fake news. So you can also get a use of that. It will be very helpful for your understanding. So with that, I will end my presentation here. Back to you, Ajit sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raju Thapaji, for Dr. Raju Thapaji for your so informative session. Some of the key points I have noted, I have note down that the meaning of information and misinformation, and then you explain how infodemic management, uh, how infodemic make pandemic worse, and you have also given the theory. You have also explained the theory of cake model and how to navigate misinformation and disinformation through 5W and 1H concept. And later on, you have also given tips to identify misinformation or disinformation. So overall, it was a very informative session. I hope this session and your information will help participants to pick correct news from social media. Even from now, I will also use that 5W and 1H concept to navigate misinformation and disinformation. So, Dr. Raju Thapa, thank you so much for your time with us. Despite of your busy schedule, you have joined us. Thank you so much. So now, as of now, we don't have any questions in our chat or question and answer box. So further, let's move on to the validation session, for which I would request Professor Inderjeet Singh Sodhi to give a validation address for this training program. Further, I would also like to inform that this is the last training program in the series of 10 webinar and training program in collaboration with Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. And I would like Professor Indrajit Singh Sodhi to kindly express his views overall, this overall journey with NIDM, and this also give us a validation address. Over to you, sir. Sir, your
Hello.
voice. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue. I request you to you can use only audio mode
Hello.
because
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, and I request you to kindly use only audio mode so that we can listen you better. I guess there is some
Audio mode.
problem with
Audio
the.
mode. Audio mode only.
Yes, sir. Continue, please, sir.
Slow चल रहा है लग रहा है. हाँ ठीक आ रहा है. Okay. Very good evening.
Yes, sir. Carry
आवाज आ
on.
रही
You
है?
are audible, sir. जी sir. जी sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I'm very much thankful to Ajit. He 3 days this training program conducted. He has and all the, who who have given their inputs regarding Prime Minister's or came forward when in November 3rd to 5th November when ministerial Asian ministers meeting on disaster was conducted at Delhi. At that time, this idea generated of Prime Minister's 10-point agenda of disaster risk reduction.
Hello, sir. Your voice is breaking, sir. I mean, I request you to kindly check your network connectivity. Is it good or not?
Now it is okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello,
Please
Ajit.
continue. Continue, sir.
So- Okay, sometimes there is a issue. So since first day, I have observed ki like Dr. Mihir Bhatt, who has talked about on issue pertaining to disaster risk reduction under the Prime Minister 10-point agenda, and he has highlighted in a very eloquently way ki how we can tackle all disaster related issue by looking into the Prime Minister's 10-point agenda. And on that day, our moderator coordinator, you also spoke and put up your views. Ajit also have given in very planned way. And no doubt the program was inaugurated by Professor Surya Prakash, the course chair, all that course chair of all the webinars and we could say and these training programs which are going on. So I believe ki such type more programs may be there. And no doubt whenever I talk about Professor Surya Prakash, they would like Ajit, Raju Thapa, Dr. Harjeet Kaur, and number of other that means all the experts, young professionals who are making their career in disaster. And whenever we talk about disaster, disaster is a very big challenge throughout the world, particularly developing country, because whenever there is a disaster, it also affects not only life or physical, but financially also, mentally also. So we have to look into how we can manage, how we can control, how we can reduce the disaster related issue. So that everywhere basis by the government, whether that means central government or regional government, local government, state government, in context of India, how we can reduce the impact, particularly what steps could be taken before the disaster is going to happen. And for that purpose, we have to train the people by involving the experts, mainly the young professionals, Raju Thapa, Arjit Kaur, Anil Kathiat, as well as all these young and others. They can contribute to improving the skill, how we can cope up if any disaster is happening. Would definitely help to understand issues, what are the changes which comes along with, and through such type of interaction, it enables us to understand all the issues arising. So I'm very much thankful Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal ji, Executive Director of National Institute of Disaster Management, as well as Professor Shivnath Dev ji, Honorable Director Rajiv Gandhi. Both institute has collaborated, and under this partnership, we are organizing such type of trainings program, and particularly this 3 days program of Prime Minister 10-point agenda program on disaster risk reduction is very much relevant, and I am very much happy that Ajit has conducted very sincerely, honestly, devotedly by involving the good number of experts in their respective areas. And today, Professor Deepak Srivastava has very rightly mentioned about role of social media in disaster management. I was very much happy. I was listening his view, as well as Dr. Raju Thapa, who is young professionals in NIDM. He has also highlighted some important issues related with disaster risk reduction. So I believe कि such type of more trainings program may be conducted by under the chair of Professor Surya Prakash, and definitely I believe कि again there will be good number of young professional like Ajit, Dr. Raju Thapa, Dr. Harjit Kaur, Dr. Harihara, as well as Anil Kathayad and all others. Thankful on behalf of NIDM, on behalf of RGNYD. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your validation address for this training program. And here I want to make a correction that this is not the last training program with Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. One training program is still remaining, which is scheduled to be held from 15th of September to 17th of September, and which is being coordinated, which will be coordinated by Dr. Raju Thapa, who is the junior consultant here in NIDM. So now I would like to take the opportunity to deliver a vote of thanks. For this, I want to thank all the speakers. Uh, it gives me really immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for the event to all assembled here virtually. First of all, I would like to thank our Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, Major General M.K. Bindalji, who provided us such national level platform and free hands for organizing such intellectual webinar or and training programs. I, I would also like to thank Professor Surya Prakash, sir, who is the head of Geometricological Risk Management Division, and who always there for us as a mentor and always support us for performing such trainings and webinars. I would like to thank all our panelists. I would like to take their name. Our panelists, Dr. Raju Thapa, Dr. Harjit Kaur, Dr. A.L. Haldarji, and Harihara, Mr. Harihara, Dipali Jindal, and Anil Kathaj for their backhand support. And I would also like to thank our IT team, Mr. Shobhit and Balaji, for their support to make this training program successful. And thanks to all our participants joined virtually and made this event successful. And yes, once again, thanks to our distinguished speakers who joined with us throughout the training program, despite of their busy schedule, and delivered and uh, their sessions with their core experience, and which is really helpful for the participants and young professionals like us. So before signing off, as all we aware that we are still facing this current situation of pandemic. So I urge all the participants, all one and all, to please follow the COVID appropriate behavior. That is, please maintain social distancing, always wear mask, always wear masks, especially at public places, and sanitize your hands regularly, uh, and wash your hands also. And with these words, I, Ajit Batham, young professional from NIDM, signing off. Jai Hind. Thank you, sir. Deepak, sir, thank you.
Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Okay, ji.
joining.
Bye. Take care.